Hello, everyone. My name is Eric K. Thomas, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Quintessential Gentleman. And today we are talking to radio host, New York Times bestselling author, late night show host, and a plethora of other things. Mr. Charlamagne Tha God, what's going on, my brother? How are you?
Peace, King. I'm blessed, black, and highly favored, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. You in these New York streets, right? How does weather treating you?
Well, I'm home right now. I honestly hate the New York weather because I'm a country boy, man, and climate change is real, and it's May, and we still got on hoodies and light coats, and it's like I was in Florida a couple of weeks ago for my daughter's cheerleading tournament, and I had on shorts and t-shirts, and now I'm back with the hoodies on, and it's just like, are we gonna get any spring?
At all. I think we're gonna skip. It's gonna go straight from winter to summer. We're gonna burn up.
I believe that.
Awesome. So thank you so much for for this interview, and then also you will be our cover gentleman on a culture issue. Super important. So thank you so much for that.
No, thank you for that blessing. Magazine covers are always a blessing.
Of course. So let's go ahead, dive right in and get into this interview. My first question is going to be the Breakfast Club. It has really evolved over the years, and more from a radio show to more of this phenomenon of, if you want to talk to Black people, this is somewhere you must stop by and have conversations with. Did you always know that it would be like that, or did you kind of have an idea that that could potentially be that way?
That's an interesting question. I knew it was going to be something special. Personally, this is the longest I've ever worked at any one radio station.
Okay.
Because I've been fired 4 times before from radio. So my stints at radio stations were never this long. I think prior to this, the longest I ever worked at a station was probably Columbia, South Carolina. I was there from like 2002 to 2006 sometime. And then I worked with Wendy for like maybe almost 3 years. So to be at a station for 12 years,
right,
to be at one show for 12 years, I mean, this is something, that's new for me, but I knew from day one it would be special. Like I always said, we was going to be a nationally syndicated radio show. I always said that because in my mind, I always wanted to be a super jock. I never wanted to be like just a radio personality, in a market, doing the time and the temperature, introducing the next song. Like I always said, if I'm going to do radio, I want to be Howard Stern level, Doug Banks, Tom Joyner, Wendy Williams, Angie Martinez, like those super jocks. I always wanted to be that. So I just knew when me, Envy, and Angela Yee got together that we were building something special and creating something special. And to your point about evolving, I mean, if you haven't evolved in 12 years, something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. So
exactly. So I want to know from you, how do you define culture? And also, what role does the Breakfast Club play in that, in culture?
That's a great question, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I've been thinking about culture, because we always say things like, for the culture, or, that person is not of the culture. And you have to say to yourself, well, what exactly is culture?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, culture can't just be one thing, because there's so many different subcultures within whatever this culture of hip hop Blackness is.
Right.
And over the years, this culture of Blackness and hip hop has always constantly evolved. And when I think about being Black, especially in America, it always feels like whatever that culture is has always been rooted in some form of music, whether it was the blues, disco, jazz, hip hop, but then you have gospel and, Black people were country singers as well. So it's just like, for some reason, it seems like culture is always rooted in music, but then even when you look at the music, there's so many different subgenres and subcultures of music now. So I think that there's a lot of shared experiences that Black Americans have.
Yeah.
And we've turned it into this culture. Like I can look at you and see the way you wearing your hat, see you got a hoodie on, and give you the nod in the street,
right,
or dap you, and we gonna do like this. We gonna bring it in. do a little hug. Like, it's just something. It's all of these shared experiences that we just know and we understand. And I think that's what the Breakfast Club is. I think the Breakfast Club is hosted by three individuals that culture understands. And even if you don't understand these three individuals, you understand somebody who sat in that seat.
Right.
You understand some guest that has been up there. You understand some conversation we have had. And I can't answer I can't answer the question what culture is. I just know that it's a set of shared experiences that we do have, but then there's so many different little subcultures of Blackness, of hip hop. But I just know that when you watch the Breakfast Club, you see your culture represented. You've seen your culture represented at some point on that show. And I think that's what separates us from a lot of different shows, because there's not too many shows that, you know, cover the broad spectrum of things that we cover. One day you might see Kodak Black sitting there. The next day you might see Bishop T.D. Jakes. Right. You know, you might see Bishop T.D. Jakes sitting there one day. Next day you see, you know, Dr. Rita Walker, who's a, you know, psychiatrist, therapist. Like, so we talk about everything: mental health, real estate, right, you know, pop culture, regular just bullshit. Like, it's to me, that's what being Black is, man. Being Black is like, we're not one dimensional at all.
Right.
You can't put us in no box. So like I said, there's been something, you've watched the Breakfast Club and you saw your culture, even your subculture, represented at some point.
Absolutely right. And, you know, the Breakfast Club definitely has a hold on that, but there's so many other people, to your point earlier, was saying about for the culture. And I guess my question, who used that tagline? And I wonder, do you think that that's overused or misused in certain situations?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's overused and I think it's misused. And I think that whenever you make broad generalizations, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Right.
You know, because the way I might represent and show up for culture may be different than the way the next person represents and shows up for culture. But that don't mean that they're not representing and showing up for culture.
Right.
You know, Black people are very complex. We got to stop looking at the world like everything is just black and white.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different little colors. And I used to say that gray area, and there is a gray area, but in that gray area, it's so many different little colors, right, you know? And to me, that's what, you know, Blackness is. So everything can't be for the culture, because some things aren't for the culture. Some things are just for you, right. You know? And some people are, sometimes you should be selfish on purpose. And sometimes people are just naturally selfish and don't care about the culture at all. That's what a lot of corporations do, right? Corporations get faces, make the face, you know, make that person the face of their product, and make it seem like this product is for the culture. Meanwhile, when you look under the hood, ain't no Black people in the C-suites. Yeah. They hardly got any Black employees. There's no Black people in leadership positions. You're just using this one person's face to sell this product and say it's for the culture. So is it really for the culture if multiple people from, you know, that culture and all of these different subcultures aren't benefiting from it? I don't think so.
Benefiting or are making the decisions or having conversations and higher up. So agreed. So talking about something that is for the culture, congratulations on season 2 of The God's Honest Truth.
Thank you.
I know you worked very, very hard on that. I want to know, why was this particular venture the next progression for you?
Man, it's really just what God had planned for me. You know, just like radio and being a nationally syndicated radio show host, you know, late night television is something that I want to really do. It's something that I really want to conquer. You know, one of my 4 entertainment, you know, idols, one of my 4 entertainment influences is Arsenio Hall. You know, Arsenio Hall is a beyond legend to me, you know, and I study his television talk show, you know, religiously, you know. I remember watching it as a kid. I go back and I watch all the clips on YouTube now. You know, he set me free, or I thought he set me free a couple of years ago. Because, you know, I had done Charlamagne and Friends on MTV2, and I did 3 seasons of Uncommon Sense on MTV2. And, you know, I had other opportunities to do talk shows on other networks, bigger networks, and they fell through. Or it wasn't necessarily a talk show. They wanted me to do like one-on-one interview shows, like I'm interviewing a guest. So it wasn't necessarily talk shows, but those things didn't work out for whatever reasons. And I remember reading it. Arsenio had put out his stand-up special on Netflix, and he did an interview, and just randomly, he's like, Charlamagne is the me of this generation.
Oh, wow.
What?
Right.
Like, what? And I'm looking for the video clip because this was just in print. I'm like, yo, I need the video clip. I got to make sure, he said this, but, I've ever since then, like, I've had the pleasure. I did when his new show came back, I was a guest on it when the talk show came back for the second time, but I guess the third time really, but yeah, me and him are like super, super cool now. And yeah, just something late night is just something I wanted to check off. And I thought I was done with it. Like, when Arsenio said that, I'm the me of this generation, but now people watch me on YouTube and, they got other ways to take in, my interviews and things that I'm saying. It's not just TV anymore. And when he said that, I was like, yo, he's right. It's like, yo, everything I've been chasing, I already have.
Wow.
And it's like, soon as I kind of like freed myself of that, if this doesn't happen,
limitation,
I'm a failure.
Yeah.
If this doesn't happen, I'm disappointed. As soon as I let that go, God's like, come here. I got something for you over here. Come over here. Let's go do this late night talk show. So that's really what it was.
And I like, for me, I guess compared to, Breakfast Club, which, we separate the two, but I feel like, you have more range to not have to worry about censorship or certain things that you say from what you do from a radio perspective, and really allows you to, when, we see other things that you've done, but also it's just a authentic Charlamagne that's kind of uncensored and can say what he wants, but from a comedic perspective. So I really enjoy it. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, man. I hope, for season 2, we're making some tweaks. We had to move out of the building because we were in the Daily Show building, but then Trevor moved back. So wait, what happened to, I thought it was the happiest accident. I mean, it's still the happy accident. We just ain't in it right now. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, listen, I respect protocol. Trevor's the big dog. Trevor been over there at Comedy Central way longer than me. Daily Show is super successful. So, if he wanted his building back, nothing I can do. I know that for that 13 weeks, we had some amazing times in there. And, I bet you somebody's looking around like, what are all of these crystals? Why are all these crystals in the windowsill? Like, because we blessed that place. Like, I had my aunt, her name is Miss Kelly. I call her Aunt Kelly. Like, she came in and she blessed the place. She smudged the whole building and, put rocks, crystal rocks and protection rocks and all this stuff through it, and prosperity. And, she blessed the building. And I mean, we did have success. So, on to the next. Awesome. So another part, I love that you created the network for Black Voices with your Black Effect, network, and, really delves into giving the opportunity for a lot of different voices. But then also I think about freedom of speech and, how it's been used as a tool to move, for us to galvanize, to be great, especially in the Black community. But right now it's kind of being weaponized, cancel culture, Twitter, hate, censorship. Why do you think that's happening now in pop culture? Man, honestly, man, if I'm being just frank, I just think it's haters. I really do. And when I say that, I mean, like, imagine like 30 years ago, you were driving down a highway, and that highway, the speed limit was 80 miles per hour. So every day you driving, you're doing your 80. Sometimes you might even go 85. And then over time, there's a lot of accidents on that highway, a lot of fatalities on that highway. A lot of people got hurt on that highway. So they reduced the speed limit to 60, 55. Right. Smart people will be like, you know what? I'm gonna start driving 55, 60 because I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt anybody, right? So imagine 30 years later, you're doing your 55, your 60, whatever.
and then you start getting speeding tickets in the mail from 30 years ago. They're like, yo, you did 80 on this highway 30 years ago, and you looking like, well, that was the speed limit, right? You know, but now they're trying to hold you accountable for what the times allowed.
Yeah.
You know, and I think right now you have that, right? But then you have these people who, some people don't even realize that was the speed limit back then. So when they come across these things, that's why it's so interesting to me when like people come across like old tweets or old television shows or old footage from old audio from a radio show podcast. They're like, gotcha. Like, they know gotcha. This shit been on YouTube for however many years. Like, it's not a gotcha. It's just that at the time, nobody cared. But now y'all trying to make, you know, this generation care about something that is wild old, and said individual is probably a totally different, you know, person now. And I think that you also have, like I said, when I said haters, you just have some people who like to weaponize those things against people that they just deem successful. Like that's the way the game is. Like they build you up, and you might even get built up with the same thing they're trying to crucify you for now. They do that to me a lot. Like I was a shock jock, right? Like that's what they labeled me. Rolling Stone magazine, all these different publications, the hip hop Howard Stern. So they built me up with it, and now it's like those same things they try to tear me down. You know, and it's just it's psychologically it is a mind fuck in a lot of ways. But it's just like that's just the culture that we're in. That's just where we are as a society. So to answer your question, I honestly don't think anything of it. I did at one point, you know, but it's like now it's just like I just understand that's the world that we live in. But I do feel like a lot of people understand that's not sustainable. Right. Because it's literally a circular firing squad. Because I guarantee you, there's not one person that you love that has not said or done something that they could be canceled for in 2022. And that goes for everybody, from DMX to Malcolm X to, like, you know what I'm saying? That goes for everybody. Everybody. Like there's not one person you can name that at some point was doing something that wasn't, you know, suitable by 2022 standards.
Right. Now, do you, or I'll ask this, how do you protect yourself from like public scrutiny? Do you, you know, and it's hard being who you are, being the platform and stuff, but do you find yourself like trying your best to protect yourself from that?
No, you can't. Like it's literally impossible. Like, because I can literally say something to you right now. I could say a complete sentence. And somebody could take that complete sentence and chop it to 2 words, put it on social media with whatever headline or caption they come up with, and literally create a narrative, and people will run with that. Like I was this weekend, somebody texted me, was like, oh, you trended on Twitter again. And I'm like, why? And it was because of my little man Art that works at the radio station. I brought him in to meet Saucy Santana because earlier he was saying how he watches Saucy Santana twerk videos. And so I said, yo, Saucy, this is Art. Art watches your twerk videos. And Saucy's like, you bugging the F out. And then he asked Art, he was like, which ones you like? And Art twerk for him. Art showed him. Mind you, Art is a straight man. Like Art is a straight man, but he's just comfortably cool. You know, so he twerked for him. We all laughed, and then Saucy started talking about how, you know, well, I said, yo, you got straight men twerking to your music. And Saucy was like, that's because my talent is undeniable. And, you know, people just rock with me and my energy. And instead of the blogs running with that, they literally cut it before the dude dances, before we laugh, before we joke. And they just kept what looks like an awkward moment. And it's like, oh, Charlamagne out's a coworker. Dude, not even gay. But everybody who actually heard the interview on the air, who watched it in its entirety on YouTube, like 4 days prior, they understood it, and they were celebrating it. But then 3-4 days later, somebody takes that clip, manipulates it, throws it out there with a caption like Charlamagne creates awkward moment for coworker. Like, come on, man.
Right.
So like you can't protect. How can I protect?
Yeah.
The only way I protect my peace is by just like I'm not on this. My phone's not on.
And then also trying not to be, still trying to be authentic, because, you trying not to say certain things or being yourself. That's not what the people are tuning in for someone to act like someone else.
Yeah. I mean, listen, honestly, man, being authentic is just being who you are
Right.
in that moment.
Right.
I've been not authentic.
Mm-hmm.
I've been the caricature of myself and not even realizing I was the caricature of myself. I've been the caricature of myself while telling myself I will never be a caricature of myself, like literally. But it's almost impossible when like you want to come up in this game and you see, like I said, Rolling Stone or whoever, talking about you and calling you the hip hop Howard Stern, and in your mind, you're like, oh, this is what they like. Oh, Vibe magazine says they love when I do this to people and this and that. So you start giving them more of that. And what happened to me in my situation was, it was just like, I just wasn't happy. You know what I'm saying? With all of the success, making more money than I ever made in my life. But it's like, what I came to understand is anxiety and panic attacks was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Those bouts of depression were getting a lot more intense. Yeah. So that means, the drinking picked up, and it was just like, I really started to live a lifestyle that I just did not want to live. And I love my father, but I saw myself becoming a lot like him in a lot of ways that I didn't like, especially in regards to like my marriage, and being a faithful husband and being the father that I needed to be. And so it's like, for me, that's what made me start going to therapy and really going on a journey of healing and a journey of like, who is Lenard?
Yeah. Like
the character of Charlamagne done took over and you done became a whole character to yourself, and you out here wilding in the studio and doing all kind of crazy, saying all kind of crazy shit. And so it's like, for me, I had to just really go on a journey for self, and I started talking about it. Yeah. That's authentic. Yeah. That's me. That's who I was in that moment. I had to let people know I'm dealing with depression. I'm dealing with anxiety on a real high level. Like, I'm not happy. I'm trying to better myself. Yeah. And I started that around 2016, 2017. And it was my first book that helped with a lot of that too, because I started going to therapy around 2016. And I started writing my book around 2016. And so I was sharing all of these stories and sharing all of these things that I learned. And it was like I was going on this journey as a man, but it was really a journey through my childhood. And it gave me a lot of clarity on why I move the way I move now as an adult, because a lot of things that happened to me in my childhood and me just trying to fix, like right now, trying to heal a lot of those inner child wounds. So yeah, I've been that. I've been that caricature of myself, man. And it's not a good feeling at all. So what you see right now is the most authentic me. It's the most authentic I think I've ever been.
It's good. And I know that's freeing over anything. Freeing. I know you spoke to Trevor Noah, and you said, God, Black women, and therapy are my light sources. Those are my sources of power at this point in time of my life. What does that mean? How did you get to that point?
Man, my grandmother was a Baptist. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. When I think about, growing up as a young man in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, I got all of my game from Black women. I got all of my, emotions and ways to handle situations from Black women. I watched my mom, not even understanding at the time, I watched my mom, raise 5 kids, while my dad was, trying to figure his life out. When my dad was dealing with his own substance abuse issues and mental health issues, and, of course, his infidelities on him, my mom ended up getting a divorce, but I just watched my mom hold it down. And so those Black women, my aunts, like my mom's sister, my Aunt Lo, and, my Aunt Mother, and different women like that, man, they just instilled so much in me. They always saw the best in me, even when I didn't see the best in myself. And, those are also the same women who, introduced me to God. Like, I've been praying since I was a kid, like literally a little kid. Like, that's all I knew. Like, bless your food, pray before you go to sleep. Like, everything was prayer, prayer, prayer. When you poor, growing up in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, that's all you really got is that family, that love, and those prayers, right? So I didn't even realize we was quote unquote poor until I got, older. And we weren't like poor. We had food on the table. My mom was an English teacher. My dad, when, he wasn't in and out of rehab or whatever he was doing, he was, in the construction and stuff. So we always kept some food on the table, and we always had each other. We always had laughs. So it's like those Black women have always been my foundation. Mm-hmm. They instilled God in me. Mm-hmm. And just as I got older, therapy was what, just helped me to deal with a lot of the trauma that I had never dealt with before. Mm-hmm. And so it's like when I say, God, therapy, and Black women are the reason I'm here right now, I truly, truly, truly mean that, mm-hmm. Because, I've done the work. I've done the work on myself. And God is like, all praises due. Like we don't give God enough glory. There used to be a time where you would hear certain individuals always constantly talking about God, talking about God, talking about God. My name, God, is in my name. Like I'm the God. I'm created in the image and likeness of, my higher power. Right. And, when it comes to Black women, I just feel like we all know who the CEOs of our lives are and have been. I just think sometimes, as men, we took them for granted, and you usually take for granted things that you think are always going to be there. Right. Things that are always there for you. We do that. We do that with our friends. We do that with, our lovers. We do that with our loved ones. We definitely do that, with our sisters. And I guarantee you, if you think right now, if you sat around right now, Eric, and thought about all the times you was really hurt in life, down in life, I guarantee you it was a Black woman that came to your aid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the same with me. So it's just like, for me, it's just like, man, if I've been a part of the problem, mm-hmm. And then I want to be a part of the solution. Yeah. And it's like, my life don't have a choice. I'm married to a Black woman. Right. I got 4 Black daughters. So people can kiss my ass when it comes to, Charlamagne hates Black women or whatever. I don't even know where that rhetoric came from, especially with, like, we live in an era where you can literally hear dudes verbally describing their disdain for Black women. Like, verbally, you hear it. I've never done that. Like, that's like, why would I ever do that? Like, the love of my life, who I've been with for 24 years, is a Black woman. So it's like, it's just that's it. God, therapy, and Black women, and I wear that. I wave that flag very, very high. You ask me the keys to my success. Those are 3 things I'm gonna definitely tell you are major keys to my success.
Perfect. And we coming up on time real quick. My last question is, in what ways do Black men need to be supported?
Oh, phenomenal question. Black men, especially now in 2022, man, we need to be supported in our growth. Mm. I think that we all have a lot of stereotypes and generalizations that we make about each other. Mm-hmm. Black women do it about Black men. Black men do it about, Black women. And it's kind of foolish because, like I was saying earlier about, subcultures, like there's no one way to move. There's no one way to do things. And, we all got to give each other grace. Like, I'm 43 years old, man. I grew up in the 1900s. Okay, I grew up in the 1900s when, you know, Death Row Records was popping. You know what I'm
Can we
saying?
not say 1900s, please? That
True.
sounds horrible.
I grew up in the 1900s with, you know, Two Live Crew and Uncle Luke. You know what I mean? Like, yo, if we're being totally honest, Eric, we were terrible. And do people not believe that men sit around and have those conversations? I have those conversations with other 40-year-old men, and we just shake our head like, bro, what would we would? Wow, like, you know, like the world was a wild place. Like, you can go listen to old music, watch old TV shows, music videos, movies, and you'll be like, huh? One of my favorite things to do is to sit around with my 20-year-old friends. Like my girl, I call her my niece, Nyla Simone. I love Nyla so much. She's a DJ at Power 105.1. And she's such a sponge for this hip hop thing, for blackness. Like, she's a real, you know, black woman. Like, her mom, her dad are like strong black people. You know what I mean? So you can see where she gets it from. Right. And I love watching old videos with her and listening to old music, because she'd be like, mouth be dropped open. She was like, right. What did he just say? Right. What are they talking about? Oh my God. Like, so the reason that's good is because it people got to understand where we come from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got to understand that we were raised wrong in a lot of ways. And they got to understand that a lot of us are unlearning what we thought was culture. Right. We're unlearning what we thought was actually us. My man, Resma Minicum, I'm going to mess up his quote, but he says that, matter of fact, I'm going to look it up because I don't want to mess up Resma's quote. What I got Google for? Hold on. Hold on. Where's it at? I want to quote him properly. Resma says, trauma decontextualized in a people can look like culture. Wow. Trauma decontextualized in a people can look like culture. He says, as children, we inherit what generations before us needed to know. Hold on. In order to survive.
Wow. You
know? So that's literally it. We all were doing what we needed to do to survive.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it became our culture, and it became a very toxic, misogynistic, right, sexist culture. So now you got a lot of brothers that are unlearning that behavior. Mm-hmm. And we're all out here trying to course correct, not just ourselves, but other brothers as well. So yeah, it's like, yo, you gotta give brothers some grace, man. Give us grace. That's how you support us. You support us by giving us grace. You support us by holding us accountable, but then giving us grace. Don't hold us accountable and then be like, oh, but you're done.
Yeah.
That's not how any of this should work. Like, you know, hold us accountable, give us grace. That's how you support Black men.